So I want to reflect on the first prompt of The Sufferer's Wisdom, the book of Job, by Ellen Davis. First, I just want to say the book of Job always challenges me in a way of acknowledging my suffering or acknowledging the trials that I go through in life. And I think that we all often have people who um, will give us these ideas of why we're suffering or false impressions of what's actually going on, or try to speak on God's behalf sometimes in the way of saying you're suffering because God sees this or God is doing this. And that doesn't always help by any means. Like we see with Job, like that often is the exact opposite, because then I've noticed that it can damage relationships as well. And so seeing how interacts with those people as well. But seeing how he handles his suffering is encouraging but challenging as well, because it's hard to see it that way a lot of times when you're in the middle of it. But I do want to point out on page 136, I want to say that's like the second sentence. The two great poems that constitute God's speech offer Job a completely different view of reality, a God's view of the world that takes no direct account of his own personal situation. Yet in the end, Job acknowledges that he has seen God, and further, that he is satisfied with God's response to his suit. I think for me that kind of just spoke, and like it reminds me, and I also like I never really noticed this when I was reading Job. I never understood why like God responded to Job that way. And like it always kind of felt like it was like belittling or condescending his suffering or his troubles, or just saying like, dude, I don't care. And so that's a big reason why this book also challenged me as well. But with reading it, like studying it again for the class, but also reading this chapter in this book, it kind of reminds me, it teaches me, it's like, no, dude, there's a lot more going on that you don't see. Like there's always a lot going on in the background that we don't understand. If you think of like a stage or like a play, we don't see what's going on behind the curtain, but we know that that is there, and that is often what is making the play actually work. And so we don't always understand why we're going through certain things, especially in our suffering. We don't understand, but this kind of just reminds you, it's like, dude, there's a reason. Now, does that mean that the reason is like, yeah, it's going to make you a better person? We never know. We can't speak on God's behalf, but there's more going on than what you understand. There's more going on than what you see in the middle of the storm. Like I kind of envision it like literally being in a storm, and all you see is the lightning and the clouds and the rain, et cetera, et cetera. But outside of that, there's stuff going on that we can't see, you know? And so it brings me a little bit of peace and understanding, like, dude, there's more going on than what you understand. So relax, just breathe. But it challenges me in the same way. Like I said, it also makes me feel like, does my suffering matter? You know? And so it definitely it causes a little bit of confliction for me just in that aspect. So yeah, I don't it like I said, I think the biggest part is it brings peace, just knowing that like, no, there's God is doing stuff, and it's like it's not that God has forgotten me or God doesn't see me struggling or anything like that. It's the exact opposite. Understanding what's going on in the background for Job, with all of the things that God is doing, seeing it from his perspective of saying like, dude, no, there's this going on, I got to do this and this, like I see you, and so there's a little bit of peace with that, understanding like, no, God hasn't forgotten about me, God has not forsaken me. And so yeah, I love that fact, and I feel like knowing that it's very inspirational, and seeing how Job responds to it, because even before that happened, there was moments of where his faith wasn't fully faltering, like it was still strong, like he still had trust, he still had faith in God. And to that last moment of where he was quote unquote losing it, I guess you could say, God like reminded him, like, dude, one, we're not on his level to understand all that kind of stuff. We're not. So God kind of giving him a little piece of, dude, no, I got this, and this as well. And so I see what you're going through, but what you're going through is not the big picture. So it kind of just encouraged me in that aspect of just saying, like, dude, more is coming from your suffering. So